All right, he took the root, gave it to the beggar woman and told her to swallow it. She swallowed it and was cured at once and could wave her arm. Ivan's parents came out to see him off on his way to the king, and when they heard that he had given away the last root and had nothing left with which to cure the king's daughter, they began to upbraid him. You have taken pity on the beggar woman, but you have no pity on the king's daughter. But he hitched his horse, threw a little straw into the hamper, and was getting ready to drive away. Where are you going, fool? To cure the king's daughter. But you have nothing to cure her with. All right, he said and drove away. He came to the king's palace, and the moment he stepped on the porch, the king's daughter was cured. The king rejoiced and sent for Ivan. He had him all dressed up. Be my son-in-law, he said. All right, he said. And Ivan married the king's daughter. The king died soon after and Ivan became king, thus all three brothers were kings. Chapter 9. The three brothers were reigning. The elder brother, Seaman the warrior, lived well. With his straw soldiers he got him real soldiers. He commanded his people to furnish a soldier to each 10 homes, and every such soldier had to be tall of stature and white of body and clean of face. And he gathered a great many such soldiers and taught them all what to do, and if anyone acted contrary to his will, he at once sent his soldiers against that person and did as he pleased, and all began to be afraid of him. He had an easy life. Whatever he wished for or his eyes fell upon was his. He would send out his soldiers and they would take away and bring to him whatever he needed. Taras the Paunch too lived well. The money which he had received from Ivan he had not spent, but he had increased it greatly. He too had good order in his kingdom. The money he kept in coffers and exacted more money from the people. He exacted money from each soul for walking past and driving past, and for bast shoes and leg rags and shoelaces. And no matter what he wished he had. For money they brought him everything and they went to work for him because everybody needs money. Nor did Ivan the fool live badly. As soon as he had buried his father-in-law, he took off his royal garments and gave them to his wife to put away in the coffer. He put on his old hempen shirt and trousers and his bast shoes and began to work. I do not feel well, he said. My belly is growing larger and I cannot eat nor sleep. He brought his parents and the dumb girl and began to work again. People said to him, But you are a king. All right, he said, but a king too has to eat. The minister came to him and said, We have no money with which to pay salaries. All right, he said, if you have none, pay no salaries. But they will stop serving you. All right, he said, let them stop serving, they will have more time for work. Let them haul manure, they have not hauled any for a long time. People came to Ivan to have a case tried. One said, He stole money from me. But Ivan replied, All right, evidently he needed it. All saw that Ivan was a fool. His wife said to him, They say about you that you are a fool. All right, he said. Ivan's wife too was a fool, and she thought and thought. Why should I go against my husband, she said. The thread belongs where the needle is. She took off her regal garments, put them in a coffer, and went to the dumb girl to learn to work. She learned and began to help her husband. All the wise men left Ivan's kingdom, and only the fools were left. Nobody had any money. They lived and worked and fed themselves, and all good people. 10. The old devil waited and waited for some news from the young devils about how they had destroyed the three brothers, but none came. He went to find out for himself. He looked everywhere for the three, but found only 3 holes. Well, he thought, evidently they did not get the best of them. I shall have to try it myself. He went to find the brothers, but they were no longer in their old places. He found them in different kingdoms. All 3 were living and reigning there. That vexed the old devil. I shall have to do the work myself, he said. First of all he went to King Seaman. He did not go to him in his own form but in the shape of a general. He went to him and said, I have heard that you, King Seaman, are a great warrior. I have had good instruction in this business, and I want to serve you. King Seaman began to ask him questions, and he saw that he was a clever man, and so received him into his service. The old general began to teach King Seaman how to gather a great army. In the first place, he said, You must collect more soldiers, for too many people in your kingdom are walking about idly. You must shave the heads of all the young men without exception, and then you will have an army which will be 5 times as large as it is now. In the second place, you must introduce new guns and cannon. I will get you the kind of guns that fire 100 bullets at once, as though pouring out peas. And I will get you cannon that burn with their fire, whether a man or a horse or a wall, they burn everything. King Seaman listened to his new general, and ordered all the young men without exception to be drafted as soldiers, and started new factories. He had a lot of new guns and cannon made, and at once started a war against a neighboring king. The moment the enemy's army came out against him, he ordered his soldiers to fire at them with bullets and to burn them with the cannon fire. He at once maimed and burnt 1/2 the army. The neighboring king became frightened, and he surrendered and gave up his kingdom to him. King Seaman was happy. Now I will vanquish the king of India, he said. But the king of India heard of King Seaman, and adopted all his inventions and added a few of his own. The king of India drafted not only all the young men, but he also made all the unmarried women serve as soldiers, and so he had even more soldiers than King Seaman. He adopted all of King Seaman's guns and cannon, and introduced flying in the air and throwing explosive bombs from above. King Seaman went out to make war on the king of India. He thought that he would conquer him as he had conquered before, but the scythe was cutting too fine. The king of India did not give Seaman's army a chance to fire a single shot, for he sent his women into the air to throw explosive bombs on Seaman's army. The women began to pour the bombs on Seaman's army, like borax on cockroaches, and the whole army ran away, and King Seaman was left alone. The king of India took possession of the whole of Seaman's kingdom, and Seaman the warrior ran whither his eyes took him. The old devil had done up this brother, and he made for King Taras. He took the shape of a merchant and settled in Taras's kingdom. He started an establishment and began to issue money. The merchant paid high prices for everything, and the whole nation rushed to the merchant to get his money. And the people had so much money that they paid all their back taxes and paid on time all the taxes as they fell due. King Taras was happy. Thanks to the merchant, he thought, I shall now have more money than ever and my life will improve. And King Taras fell on new plans. He began to build himself a new palace. He commanded the people to haul lumber and stone and to come to work, and offered high prices for everything. King Taras thought that as before the people would rush to work for him, but behold, all the lumber and stone was being hauled to the merchant, and only the laborers were rushing to the king. King Taras offered higher prices, but the merchant went higher still. King Taras had much money, but the merchant had more still, and the merchant could offer better pay than the king. The royal palace came to a standstill. It could not be built. King Taras wanted to get a garden laid out. When the fall came, King Taras proclaimed that he wanted people to come and set out trees for him, but nobody came, as they were all digging a pond for the merchant. Winter came. King Taras wanted to buy sable furs for a new coat, and he sent out men to buy them. The messenger came back and said that there were no sables, that all the furs were in the merchant's possession, as he had offered a higher price, and that he had made himself a sable rug. King Taras wanted to have some stallions. He sent messengers to buy them for him, but they came back and said that the merchant had all the good stallions, and they were hauling water and filling up the pond. All the business of the king came to a stop. Men would not do anything for him, but worked only for the merchant. All he received was the merchant's money for taxes. And the king collected such a mass of money that he did not know what to do with it, and his life grew bad. The king stopped planning things and only thought of how he might pass his life peacefully, but he could not do so. He was oppressed in everything. His cooks and his coachmen and his servants began to leave him for the merchant, and he began to suffer for lack of food. He would send the women to market to buy provisions, but there was nothing there, for the merchant bought up everything, and all he received was money for taxes. King Taras grew angry and sent the merchant abroad, but the merchant settled at the border and continued to do his work. As before, people dragged for the merchant's money all the things from the king to him. The king was in a bad plight. He did not eat for days at a time, and the rumor was spread that the merchant was boasting that he was going to buy the king himself with his money. King Taras lost his courage and did not know what to do. Seaman the warrior came to him and said, "Support me, for the king of India has vanquished me." But Taras himself was pinched. "I have not eaten myself for 2 days," he said. Chapter 11. The old devil had done up the two brothers, and now went to Ivan. The old devil took the shape of a general, and he came to Ivan and tried to persuade him to provide himself with an army. "It will not do for a king to live without an army," he said. "Just command me, and I will gather soldiers from among your people, and will get you up an army." Ivan took his advice. "All right," he said, "get me up an army, teach them to play good music, I like that." The old devil started to go over the kingdom to gather volunteers. He said that they should go and get their crowns shaved, for which they would get a bottle of vodka each and a red cap. The fools laughed at him. "We have all the liquor we want," they said, "for we distill it ourselves, and as for caps, our women will make us any we want, even motley ones with tassels at that." Not one of them would go. The old devil went to Ivan and said, "Your fools will not go of their own will, you will have to force them." "All right," he said, "drive them by force." And so the old devil announced that all the fools were to inscribe themselves as soldiers, and that Ivan would execute those who would not go. The fools came to the general and said, "You say that the king will have us killed if we do not become soldiers, but you do not tell us what we shall have to do as soldiers. They say that soldiers too are killed." "Yes, that cannot be helped." When the fools heard that, they became stubborn. "We will not go," they said. "If so, let us be killed at home. Death cannot be escaped anyway." "Fools that you are," said the old devil. "A soldier may be killed or not, but if you do not go, King Ivan will certainly have you killed." The fools considered the matter and went to see Ivan the fool. "Your general has come," they said, "and tells us all to turn soldiers. If you become soldiers," he says, "you may be killed or not, but if you do not become soldiers, King Ivan will certainly put you to death. Is that true?" Ivan began to laugh. "How can I, one man, have you all put to death? If I were not a fool, I should explain that to you, but as it is, I do not understand it myself." "If so," they said, "we shall not become soldiers." "All right," he said, "don't." The fools went to the general and refused to become soldiers. The old devil saw that his business did not work, so he went to the king of Cockroachland and got into his favor. "Let us go," he said, "and wage war on King Ivan and vanquish him. He has no money, but he has plenty of grain and cattle and all kinds of things." The king of Cockroachland went out to make war. He had gathered a large army and collected guns and cannon and left his borders to enter Ivan's kingdom. People came to Ivan and said, "The king of Cockroachland is coming against us." "All right," he said, "let him come." The king of Cockroachland crossed the border and sent the advance guard to find Ivan's army. They looked and looked for it and could not find it. They thought that they might wait for it to show up, but they heard nothing about it. There was no army to fight. The king of Cockroachland sent out his men to take possession of the villages. The soldiers came to one village, and there the fools jumped out to look at the soldiers and to marvel at them. The soldiers began to take away the grain and the cattle. The fools gave it all up and did not resist. The soldiers went to the next village and the same happened. The soldiers walked for a day or two and everywhere the same happened. They gave up all they had and nobody resisted, and they invited the soldiers to come and live with them. "If you, dear people," they said, "have not enough to live on in your country, come and settle among us." The soldiers walked and walked, but no army was to be found. Everywhere people were living and feeding themselves and other people, and they did not resist, but invited them to come and live with them. The soldiers felt bad, and they came back to the king of Cockroachland. "We cannot fight here," they said, "so take us to some other place. War would be a good thing, but this is as though we were to cut soup. We cannot fight here." The king of Cockroachland grew wroth, and commanded his soldiers to march through the whole kingdom, and destroy villages and houses, and burn the grain and kill the cattle. "If you do not obey my command," he said, "I shall have you all executed." The soldiers became frightened and began to carry out the king's command. They started to burn the houses and the grain and to kill the cattle. And still the fools did not resist but only wept. The old men wept and the old women wept and the children wept. "Why do you offend us? Why do you destroy the property? If you need it, take it along." The soldiers felt ashamed. They did not go any farther and the whole army ran away. Chapter 12. The old devil went away. He could not get at Ivan by means of the soldiers. The old devil changed into a clean-looking gentleman and went to live in Ivan's kingdom. He wished to get at him by means of money, as he had done with Taras the paunch. "I want to do you good," he said, "and to teach you what is good and proper. I will build a house in your country and will start an establishment." "All right," he said, "stay here." The clean-looking gentleman stayed overnight, and the following morning he took a large bag of gold to the market square and a sheet of paper and said, "You are all of you living like pigs. I will teach you how to live. Build me a house according to this plan. You work and I will show you how and will pay gold money to you." And he showed them the gold. The fools were astounded. They had no such a thing as money and only exchanged things among themselves or paid with work. They marveled at the gold and said, "They are nice things." And for these gold things they began to give him what they had and to work for him. The old devil rejoiced and thought, "My affair is proceeding favorably. I will now ruin Ivan completely, as I have ruined Taras, and will buy him up, guts and all." As soon as the fools had any gold, they gave it all away to their women for necklaces, and their girls wove it into their braids, and the children began to play in the streets with those pretty things. When all had enough of it, they refused to get any more. The clean-looking gentleman's palace was not half done, and the grain and the cattle were not yet attended to for the year. And the gentleman demanded that they should go and work for him, and haul his grain and drive his cattle. He promised them much gold for everything and for all work. But no one came to work, and they brought nothing to him. Only now and then a boy or girl would run in to exchange an egg for a gold coin, otherwise nobody came, and he had nothing to eat. The clean-looking gentleman was starved, and he went to the village to buy something to eat. He went into one yard and offered a gold coin for a chicken, but the woman would not take it. "I have too many of them as it is," she said. He went to a homeless woman to buy a herring of her, and offered her a gold coin. "I do not want it, dear man," she said. "I have no children, and so there is nobody to play with it. I myself have 3 of these for show." He went to a peasant to buy bread of him, but the peasant too would not take the money. "I do not want it," he said. "If you want bread, for Christ's sake wait, and I will have my wife cut you off a piece." The devil just spit out and ran away from the peasant. Not only would he not take anything for Christ's sake, but it was worse than cutting him even to hear that word. And so he did not get any bread. Everywhere it was the same. No matter where the devil went, they gave him nothing for money, but said, "Bring us something else, or come and work for it, or take it for Christ's sake." But the devil had nothing but money. He did not like to work, and for Christ's sake he could not take anything. The old devil grew angry. "What else do you want if I give you money? You can buy anything for money or hire a laborer." The fools paid no attention to him. "No," they said, "we do not want it. We have no taxes and no wages to pay, so what do we want with the money?" The old devil went to bed without eating supper. This affair reached the ears of Ivan the Fool. They went to ask him, "What shall we do? A clean-looking gentleman has appeared among us. He is fond of eating and drinking and does not like to work and does not beg for Christ's sake, but only offers us gold pieces. So long as we did not have enough of them, we gave him everything, but now we do not give him any more. What shall we do with him? We are afraid that he will starve." Ivan listened to what they had to say. "All right," he said, "we shall have to feed him. Let him go from farm to farm as a shepherd." The old devil could not help himself, and he began to go from farm to farm. The turn came to Ivan's farm. The old devil came to dinner, and the dumb girl was just fixing it. Those who were lazy used to deceive her. Without having worked, they came to dinner earlier and ate up all the porridge, and so the dumb girl contrived to tell the good-for-nothing by their hands. If one had calluses, she seated him at the table, but if not, she gave him what was left of the dinner. The old devil climbed behind the table, but the dumb girl took hold of his hands, and there were no calluses. The hands were clean and smooth, and the nails long. The dumb girl bowled and pulled the devil out from behind the table. Ivan's wife said to him, "Don't take it amiss, clean gentleman. My sister-in-law will not let a man without calluses sit down at the table. Wait a while. Let the people eat first, and then you will get what is left." The old devil was insulted, because at the king's house they would feed him with the swine. He said to Ivan, "What a fool's law you have in your country to let all men work with their hands. You have invented that in your stupidity. Do men work with their hands only? How do you suppose clever people work? But Ivan said, "How can we fools know? We labor mostly with our hands and with our backs." "That is so because you are fools. I will teach you," he said, "how to work with your heads. You will see that with your heads you can work faster than with your hands." Ivan marveled. "Indeed," he said, "we are called fools for good reason." And the old devil said, "But it is not easy to work with the head. You do not give me anything to eat because I have no calluses on my hands, and you do not know that it is 100 times harder to work with the head. At times it just makes the head burst." Ivan fell to musing. "But why do you torture yourself so much, my dear? It is no small matter to have your head burst. You had better do some easy work, with your hands and back." And the devil said, "The reason I torture myself is because I pity you fools. If I did not torture myself, you would remain fools to the end of your days. I have worked with my head, and now I will teach you too." Ivan marveled. "Teach us," he said, "for now and then the hands get tired, and it would be nice to use the head instead." The devil promised to teach him. And Ivan proclaimed throughout his kingdom that a clean-looking man had appeared who would teach people how to work with their heads, that they could work more with their heads than with their hands, and that they should come and learn. In Ivan's kingdom there was a high tower, and a straight staircase led up to it, and at the top there was a spy room. Ivan took the gentleman there so that he might see better. The gentleman stood up on the tower and began to speak from it. The fools gathered around to look at him. The fools thought that he would show them in fact how to work with the head instead of the hands, but the old devil taught them only in words how to live without working. The fools did not understand a word. They looked and went away, each to his work. The old devil stood on the tower a day and a second day and kept talking. He wanted to eat, but the fools did not have enough sense to send some bread up to the tower. They thought that if he could work better with his head than with his hands, he would somehow earn bread for himself with his head. The old devil stood another day in the tower room and kept talking all the time. And the people came up and looked and went away. Then Ivan asked, "Well, has the gentleman begun to work with his head?" "Not yet," people said, "he is still babbling." The old devil stood another day on the tower and began to weaken. He tottered and struck his head against a post. One of the fools saw that and told Ivan's wife about it, and she ran to her husband in the field. "Come, let us go and see," she said. "The gentleman is beginning to work with his head." Ivan was surprised. "Indeed," he said. He turned in the horse and went to the tower. When he came up to it, the old devil was weakened from hunger and tottering from side to side and knocking his head against the posts. Just as Ivan came up, the devil stumbled and fell and rattled down the stairs head foremost. He counted all the steps. "Well," said Ivan, "the clean-looking gentleman told the truth when he said that at times the head bursts. This is worse than calluses. Such works will leave bumps on the head." The old devil came down the whole staircase and struck his head against the ground. Ivan wanted to go and see how much work he had done, but suddenly the earth gave way, and the old devil went through the earth, and nothing but a hole was left. Ivan scratched himself. "I declare," he said, "it is a nasty thing. It is again he must be the father of those others. What a big fellow he is." Ivan is still living, and people are all the time rushing to his kingdom, and his brothers too came to him, and he is feeding them all. If anyone comes and says, "Feed me," he replies, "All right, stay here, we have plenty of everything." They have but one custom in his country, and that is, if one has calluses on his hands, he may sit down at the table, and if he has not, he gets the remnants.